What if I told you that repeating a single phrase for just a few minutes, for 7 consecutive nights, could completely change the way reality responds to you? It sounds too simple to work, but perhaps that's precisely why this secret has remained hidden for so long. The truth is that what you repeat with emotion becomes a code, a new programming that transforms your mind, your energy, and inevitably, your life. In this video, you'll discover a technique as powerful as it is underestimated, capable of dissolving mental blocks, restructuring your beliefs, and aligning your frequency with what you most desire. And all you need is your voice, your intention, and 100 repetitions. Now write in the comments, "I accept my new reality with confidence and gratitude." That phrase is your first step. Write it, feel it, and prepare yourself, because what comes next may change everything. Jacobo Grinberg, a Mexican neurophysiologist, devoted his life to a field that few dared to explore in depth: consciousness as the creative force of reality. In his studies, he proposed that the human mind does not merely perceive the world, it constructs it, interacting with an invisible field of information that shapes what we call objective reality. This theory, known as the neuronal field, suggests that our mental patterns act as filters that define what is possible or impossible in our lives. Reality, therefore, is malleable, and the key to shaping it lies within us. At another extreme, but with the same essence, Neville Goddard claimed that the outer world is merely a mirror of the inner one. For him, what you repeat with emotion and conviction inevitably becomes part of your experience. The power of emotional repetition is not just a spiritual technique, it's a tool for subconscious reprogramming, capable of rewriting patterns rooted since childhood. In this video, we bring these two approaches together: Grinberg's intuitive science and Goddard's direct practice. What you're about to learn is a simple yet deeply transformative technique, and perhaps the most direct portal to aligning your mind with your destiny. Most people live believing that reality is something fixed, external, and immutable, a structure we merely react to, but cannot shape. Yet Jacobo Grinberg radically challenged this paradigm. According to him, the reality we experience is not a faithful reflection of the outside world, but an active construction of the mind, based on deeply ingrained internal patterns. Grinberg proposed that there exists an invisible informational field that permeates all existence. This field, which he called the neuronal field, functions like a vibrational matrix, a kind of energetic foundation that connects with our consciousness. The mind then acts as a translator, converting these vibrations into images, sensations, thoughts, and events. What you call reality is, in fact, a projection of your mind's internal structure. That changes everything. If the mind shapes reality, then everything you live is, in some way, a manifestation of what you believe to be true. And what's most striking is that these beliefs are usually not conscious. They were absorbed throughout life, especially during childhood, through repeated phrases, experiences, emotions, and traumas. They became invisible filters that determine what you perceive, attract, and experience. So when you repeat things like "money is hard," "relationships are complicated," or "I'm not good enough," you're not just verbally sabotaging yourself. You're programming your mind to seek, select, and create experiences that confirm those statements. The brain, through the reticular activating system, RAS, begins to ignore everything that contradicts that view and amplifies everything that reinforces it. It's as if you live inside a perceptual tunnel where you can only see what you already believe. Grinberg even studied altered states of consciousness to understand how the mind interacts with this vibrational base. In his research with shamans, meditators, and sensitive individuals, he noticed that when the mind enters deeper states, such as intense relaxation or meditation, It seems to access levels of the neuronal field capable of generating real transformations in matter and events. This could explain phenomena such as spontaneous healing, unlikely coincidences, and sudden life changes. This vision breaks with the traditional logic of cause and effect. Instead of waiting for something out there to change so you can feel good in here, you reverse the equation. By changing your internal state, your reality begins to reorganize itself to reflect this new mental configuration. It's like changing the lens of a projector. The image in the external world transforms, but the change happened inside you. Therefore, reality is not something you discover, it's something you create. And that creation happens all the time, whether consciously or not. Grinberg's proposal is not that you fight against reality, but that you learn to master the inner creative process that defines it. And this is precisely where conscious repetition becomes a powerful tool. If the mind shapes reality, as Grinberg revealed, then the great question becomes, how do we shape the mind? The answer, though simple, carries immense power, through repetition infused with emotion. This is the core of Neville Goddard's teachings, and also the bridge between theory and practice when it comes to personal transformation. Neville taught that the outer world is nothing more than a faithful reflection of the inner one. For him, everything you repeat with emotion, conviction, and consistency inevitably becomes part of your experience. But it's not about repeating mechanically or soullessly. The key lies in the emotional quality of repetition. When a phrase is felt as truth, even if it hasn't manifested physically yet, it begins to take root in the subconscious. And that's exactly where the magic happens. Why is emotion so important? Because it's what turns words into commands. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to logic or rational effort. It responds to the emotional frequency behind the words. When you repeat, "I am prosperous," with genuine feeling, you emit a vibrational signal congruent with prosperity. That signal not only influences your behavior, but also begins to shape what you perceive and attract. Think of the mind as fertile soil. Repetition is the seed. But without emotion, that seed dries out. It doesn't germinate. It lacks the strength to break through the surface of old beliefs. With emotion, however, it gains power, breaks internal resistance, and starts to reshape the mental landscape. That's when the mind becomes a truly creative tool. It starts to accept the new as real. Goddard taught that feeling is the secret. This means that to change your reality, you don't need to see immediate external proof. You need to feel internally that it's already real. And this inner conviction, when repeated day after day, creates a saturation point, a moment when the subconscious stops resisting and simply accepts the new model as fact. When that happens, your actions, decisions, and perceptions automatically align with this new identity. Imagine someone repeating with conviction the phrase, "I am worthy of living an extraordinary life." At first, they might doubt it, but by repeating it 100 times each night for 7 days with genuine emotional intention, something inside them starts to shift. Small behaviors change, new ideas appear, they begin to see themselves differently, and the world inevitably responds. Emotional repetition is therefore a direct key to the subconscious. And the subconscious is the true architect of your reality. Everything you want to transform out there must first be repeated with feeling in here. You might be wondering, why exactly 100 times? Why not 10, 20, or 50? The answer lies in how the human brain processes patterns and forms new connections. Repetition, when it surpasses a certain threshold, reaches what we call a neural saturation point, the moment when a new idea stops being just a thought and begins to be recorded as truth. The brain works through networks of neurons that connect based on the frequency and intensity of the stimuli they receive. Every time you repeat an affirmation, especially one loaded with emotion, you're activating a specific neural circuit. When that activation happens repeatedly, those connections strengthen, just like a muscle trained every day. That's when repetition becomes programming. 100 repetitions create a state of mental immersion. The conscious mind, the one that resists and judges, begins to tire and relax. This state opens the doors of the subconscious, allowing the affirmation to sink deeply without logical resistance. It's like hearing a song so many times that you can't get it out of your head. Except, in this case, what's being recorded is a new vibrational identity. There's another factor too: presence. Repeating something 100 times requires attention, commitment, and surrender. You don't do it by accident, you deliberately choose this practice. And that focused intention is an essential ingredient for altering mental states. Each repetition is like a hammer, sculpting a new internal structure. After a certain point, there's no longer room for doubt, only acceptance. Neuroscience studies also show that the brain responds best to repetition during states of relaxation, such as before sleep or right after waking. In these moments, the brain's waves are in alpha or theta frequencies, more receptive to suggestion. By combining this natural state with a sequence of 100 focused repetitions, you're literally reshaping your cognitive structure from the inside out. Of course, the number 100 also has a psychological effect. It conveys depth, seriousness, persistence. By repeating something 100 times, you're showing yourself that it matters, that it deserves space in your life. It's a number that demands discipline, but rewards transformation. And the most powerful moment comes at the 100th repetition. The body relaxes, the mind grows quiet, and the phrase that once felt distant begins to sound natural. That's the sign saturation has been reached, and that new programming has begun. Repetition itself holds immense power, but when you place it within a proper internal and external setting, the effect multiplies. What separates a transformative practice from a mechanical exercise is the quality of the field you create before you begin. That's why preparing your physical space, your mind, and your emotion is an essential part of the process. Let's start with the external environment. The subconscious mind responds best in relaxed states, when the rational mind begins to slow down. A calm, quiet place with low light already signals the body that it's time to turn inward. It could be your bedroom, a comfortable chair, or even the floor. What matters is that you won't be interrupted and can be fully present with yourself. Lighting a candle, playing soft music, or using a pleasant scent can help anchor the moment, but none of it is mandatory. Then comes the inner environment, your mental readiness. Before starting the repetitions, take deep breaths. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 4 seconds. Do this a few times. This kind of breathing regulates your nervous system, takes you out of alert mode, and shifts your brain into slower, more receptive alpha waves. The mind becomes more sensitive, and the subconscious more open to suggestion. Now, the crucial element: emotion and intention. You can repeat a phrase 1,000 times, but if you do it mechanically without feeling, you're only exercising your jaw. The subconscious doesn't understand words, it understands vibration. Each phrase you repeat must be felt. You have to imagine it's already real. Visualize it, embody it, vibrate with it. Suppose your affirmation is, "Everything is flowing perfectly in my life." As you repeat it, you must evoke within yourself a sense of lightness, confidence, and flow, as if you were already living that state. The mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's intensely felt. So by generating that emotion, you're signaling to your entire system that this is the new truth. And here comes intention. What's the purpose behind your practice? What reality are you trying to manifest? Clarity is power. It's not enough to just repeat. You must know why you're repeating, and that why must come from the heart, not the ego. The ego demands immediate proof. Consciousness seeks expansion. When you practice with the intention of evolving, transforming, and becoming who you truly are, the universe responds in a more aligned and lasting way. Creating this field, environment, mind, emotion, and intention is not a luxury, it's a sacred preparation. It's like tilling the soil before planting the seed. With the right ground, repetition doesn't just take root, it blossoms. There's one stage often ignored in mental reprogramming practice, but it defines the success of the entire technique: the moment of letting go. After repeating your affirmation 100 times with intention and emotion, the next phase is not to keep waiting or trying to control the outcome. It's to release, to surrender, to trust. And that can be harder than it seems. Jacobo Grinberg said that excessive conscious control disrupts the natural interaction with the informational field. In other words, when you obsessively watch every detail of reality, waiting for proof that the technique works, you're signaling to your mind that you don't truly believe. And the subconscious picks that up. It perceives the feeling behind the action, not just the gesture. If you repeat with faith, but then return to anxiety, you're undoing what you built. Neville Goddard called this the state of acceptance. When you feel that something is already yours, you don't chase it. You simply prepare to receive it. And it's exactly this silent confidence that shapes the vibrational field necessary for change to manifest. Letting go isn't giving up. Letting go is the ultimate expression of trust. Think of planting a seed. After putting it in the soil, you don't dig it up every hour to see if it's growing. You water it, you care for it, and you trust that the invisible process is happening. The same applies to mental reprogramming. The 100 repetitions are the planting. Surrender is the space that allows growth. Letting go also cleanses the emotional field. Anxiety often arises because we're attached to the how and when. But the subconscious doesn't operate on logical timelines. It responds to consistent frequencies, not calendars. So letting go means releasing the ego that craves control and making room for the consciousness that knows everything is already in motion. There's also an energetic reason why this step is crucial. When you let go, you stop emitting the frequency of lack, the one that says "I don't have it yet," and begin vibrating in the frequency of abundance. This is already mine. That subtle yet powerful shift is what unlocks the channels of manifestation. Reality starts to reorganize because your energy is finally coherent with your desire. After your 100 repetitions, the practice is simple. Stop, breathe, smile softly, give thanks. Feel as if everything is already unfolding. Avoid talking about it or searching for immediate signs. Just go on with your life, but with the inner sense that something has been activated and that the universe is already responding. Surrender isn't passivity, it's active trust. And it's that trust that opens the doors to what seem like miracles, but are simply the natural reflections of a new mental program in action. When you begin the process of conscious repetition with emotion and surrender, something subtle yet immensely powerful starts to occur. Reality begins to reorganize itself, not magically or suddenly, but through small signs, synchronicities, and perceptions that show the field adjusting to the new frequency you're emitting. These are the first indications that the reprogrammed mind is beginning to influence the external world. The first and most common sign is an internal shift. You start noticing that something within you feels lighter, more confident, more at peace. Even without visible transformation, there's a quiet knowing that something is right, even if you can't name it. That gentle peace is the subconscious accepting the new pattern and ceasing its resistance to change. Then come the synchronicities. You think of something, and the same day you hear someone mention it. A video appears with the exact answer you needed. An unexpected invitation arrives. Opportunities that once went unnoticed start to stand out. These meaningful coincidences are not random. They're the field responding to your new vibration. Another strong sign of alignment is mental clarity. Ideas flow more easily, Decisions that once felt confusing become clear. You start acting more naturally toward what you want without forcing it. Challenges don't vanish, but you face them with greater presence and direction, as if something larger were guiding your steps. And indeed it is. Your reconfigured mind is now serving as a compass for new paths. Many people also report an increase in intuition. That inner voice, once drowned out by doubt, becomes clearer. You sense when to say yes, when to say no, when to wait, and when to act. This happens because, by clearing mental interference through repetition and surrender, you strengthen your connection with the intelligence of the field, the same one Jacobo Grinberg studied, and that constantly communicates with your consciousness. It's also common to experience a kind of natural detachment. You realize you no longer need to cling to old fears, insecurities, or even obsessive desires. The new frequency brings quiet confidence, a sense that things are unfolding in the right time, without the need to force anything. And it's precisely this lightness that attracts even more results. Finally, one of the clearest signs that your mind is aligned is the effortless change in behavior. You begin to act differently because you feel different, and this internal shift automatically alters what you attract, what you allow, and how you respond to life. These signs are only the beginning. A mind reprogrammed with intention, emotion, and surrender becomes like a finely tuned antenna. It starts to receive a new kind of reality, more coherent, more fluid, more aligned with who you truly are. Now that you understand the power of repetition, the influence of emotion, and the strength of surrender, the most important question is, will you just watch, or will you practice? The transformation you seek isn't found in what you understand, it's found in what you apply. And this technique, simple, direct, and profound, is now in your hands. Choose an affirmation that resonates with your deepest truth. It might be something like, "My life is aligning with my purpose. I am a magnet for incredible opportunities." Or any phrase that represents your desired new state. Repeat it 100 times for 7 consecutive nights with real emotion, full presence, and total surrender. And then be silent. Let reality do its work. Notice the signs. Trust the process. If this content touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel to receive more videos like this. Videos that unite science, spirituality, and transformative practice. Leave a comment with the affirmation you chose, and let's create together a collective field of intention and change. Remember, you are not here by accident. Your new reality is already forming, and it all begins with your decision to act.